Howdy, howdy. Hello. I started my stream a little earlier than I should have. I wasn't quite ready. Oh, hello. Guess what I did this morning? Channel point redeems work again. Yeah, there were some issues with Twitch Mata. The process of updating it from the pub sub to event sub was there's some issues with it. But we Renee and Dizzy at Beans helped me figure out what was going on. Yes, my save works. Save all scenes. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. You're doing stuff in Godot, so you're probably not using Twitch Mata, but the things that were not working, there was a setting for having a chatbot, like a Twitch account for your chatbot. That was required. It says it was optional, but it was actually required. So I just had to plug my main channel into the chat bot. And the other thing is there's Twitch has managed channel point redeems, which are like ones that only exist while your app is running, and unmanaged ones which exist regardless of whether your app is running. Only the managed ones work, which was strange. But we got it all sorted. So I am I'm happy we got that working. So I can do a D20. I still need to hook this up so they actually tell you what number they rolled. And do a hydrate. Yeah. Super fun. Anyway, I think today I'm gonna add a shield state to my character controller, because I already have animations for shielding, so might as well add those. No, the can's been there the whole time. It's not a redeem that I use very often. I think there's a couple random colors it can be too. It's not always green. I think it can be yellow, green, or red maybe? Alright, so gonna add it's just gonna be a node. Shield. Alright. So let's scripts, not scenes, scripts. Player states. Combat states. I guess it'll go in combat states. Shield states. Then we'll make a script. Alright, have a good lurk. This will be, it will inherit from state, and we will call it shield state. And we'll go ahead and throw it on here. Name, shield state, extend state, and then we'll have let's see. So we'll have a function enter state, and then we'll have exit state. So let's see, I think, so I was goofing around in Wind Waker a little bit this morning to kind of see how some of the stuff works. So it seems like Link in Wind Waker has a 4 attack combo for his basic attack, but it plays the same animation 3 times in a row, and then it will play a different animation for the final attack in the sequence, which is kind of weird. And that's not necessarily how I want it to work. I kind of like how it worked in Ocarina of Time a little bit more, or like in Breath of the Wild, where it's multiple unique attacks for the combo. So he does like, you know, swipe from the right, swipe from the left, and then some other attack. I can't remember exactly. But I want it to work a little bit more like that. And then there are also, so in Wind Waker, if you're holding, hi Folkish, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. My channel point redeems work again. So you can floof me if you want, or you can throw a d20 at my face. Oof. I need to hook those up so they actually like tell you what number you rolled, but I got them working. It was fun. Yeah, I have some silly ones for like my save reminder will like throw a floppy disk at my face. Most of them throw something at my face. My like posture reminder will throw a shrimp to remind me to stop shrimping. Anyway, we're working on adding a shield state to our character. We have an animation for shielding, but it's just not hooked up right now. And I think I also want to add like a collider to the shield that like turns on and off when you are shielding. And then we can have like different things happen when attacks hit that collider. So, first thing we're doing is we're set up the state. Now I need to go in the player input and let's see. Does grounded states have a? Okay, that's just the ground check. Okay. My state machine's getting very complex, and I haven't even gotten into climbing or swimming or anything like that. But that's the nature of character controllers. They have a lot of complexity. And so the things that I really want to add next, I want to add the ability to lock on to things and shield, and then I want to add like a basic enemy that you can fight. And then I think I'll go back to the treasure chest and hook it up so you actually like collect items from the chest. And then I'll be able to like start building out some cool things like tying events into things. So like if you defeat an enemy, it can spawn a chest, and then the chest can give you a key, and the key can open a door, stuff like that. So I can start building up my toolkit of things that I can use to build the game. Because I think I kind of started getting into polishing stuff a little too soon without getting all the features working the way I want them to work. Yeah. Anyway. So in the shield state, we want a reference to our animation tree. So we can say animation tree. We're actually going to add some bools here. We'll add shielding. And then we also need to add in our actual animation tree. Alright, where's our... We put our combat stuff over here. So I'm gonna kind of designate this as like combat state. So we'll add animation. We have blocking idle. So we can add a transition from locomotion to blocking idle, and then we can add one that goes back. Now we need to edit the transition. So this needs to be blocking. And then let's see. I don't know if this sort of thing works in the expressions. I need to figure that out. Do animation transition expression. let's look in here, see what we got. Okay, so this is animation transition. Okay. Okay, so if let's get silly with this. Okay, so I just want to see, because this could potentially simplify things quite a bit. And so if I have an export var blocking, set it to a bool and set it to false. And then if instead of this I say blocking is equal to true, and here say blocking is equal to false, and I go back in here. The character, run, and then if I say blocking, okay, cool. That would have saved me a lot of hassle. Okay, so it appears as though this this expression here, it requires you to be looking at variables that are on the script that is attached to this node. Okay, cool. That is very good to know. That will be very, very helpful. So I can say in the shield script, I can say animation tree dot blocking is true. And then in our exit state, we can say animation tree dot blocking. Oh, not equal, just equal. Double equal is for comparison. Single equal is for setting. Cool. All right. And then I think we also want to in our player input, we're gonna have signal shield pressed, signal shield released. If input dot is action just pressed, shield press dot emit, and then if input dot is action just released, shield released dot emit, and then here in our shield script we can say let's say player input dot shield released dot connect, and then we'll have a function shield release. Thorin says hi. Alright. He's mad about something. We'll say if state machine dot current state is self, state machine dot change state, and we'll go to our idle state. And we'll also before we change states, we will say we'll disconnect from this. Cool. And then, let's see, what else do we want to do? I think we want to set the we want to do this. So we want to set the velocity to 0 and set can move to false. I guess we want sport bar, or no, we'll do, I don't know why I didn't just make this unique. Oh, can you not access unique name on the top level? Oh well. Yeah, we'll just do now I need to set it so we can transition to that state. let's see. Shield pressed. Say if state machine current state is this, change state, shield. I probably also want to check to make sure that we're in this state before I do this, just to be safe. Oh yeah, shield pressed. Pressed, disconnect. Pressed. Alright, so this will only let me block from the idle state right now, I think. Let's find out. I am Floof. My redeems work again, distracted senpai. Renee and Dizzy helped me get them working during Renee's stream. I had to do a new build, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Also, the floof combined with this thing that I made for April Fools is very fun. Floofy rainbow. The rainbow floof. Also, the rainbow is something that I can just I can toggle on and off at will, and if it'll just stay looping if I don't do anything to it. It's kind of fun. It does kind of pop back to red, which I'm not crazy about, but it is what it is. I can also do this. Content warning, naked owl bear. I've been shaved. It's very cursed. Get the foof back. Yeah, I have like a secret control panel that's like just off screen for you guys on my overlay that I can toggle things. It's quite handy. What's this error complaining about? Animation tree. Blocking equals true, blocking equals false. So what? Why does... Why didn't it like that though? Animation tree. Oh, is this one of those dumb, like, I copied it but I didn't like drag it in, so it didn't get the ID somehow? But I do also need to make sure that if I'm in the idle state and I press the shield button, before we do that, we say, actually no, we'll do it in the shield state. We'll say equipment manager dot equip sword and shield. There we go. Thornton is mad about something that's going on outside, and I do not understand what he's on about. That's cool. I think I need to add a crossfade. And I do also need to set can move back to true. Because I... Yeah, he's a silly boy. Alright. See, I feel like setting can move to true should be something that happens in the enter state of idle. So player character controller dot can move equal to true. It's funny. I like it. Alright, let's add a little bit of a crossfade on that one. Animation tree. Go in here. Grab this. Let's say 0.25. Same with this one. That might be too long, but let's just see. Sometimes you just gotta feel it out. Oh yeah, that's too slow, but It's getting there. Alright, so let's make that a lot more snappy. So I think we probably want that to be like 0.025 or like 0.1. No, 0.1 might be too slow. Let's do 0.05 for both these. Quarter second is always my go-to for these little timers, and I feel like I'm always wrong. Oh yeah, that's much better. Alright, so now I just need to add this transition to the, yeah. So in the transition, there's a crossfade time. You can also, like, make a curve so it, like, stays in one animation longer, and you adjust, like, how far... I don't entirely know how it works. I haven't messed with it too much. I just know that you can mess with that number to blend between. So if you wanted to, for some of these things, I could just make it so the animation itself is like a pose rather than an animation, and then use the crossfade to like sort of animate between the states. Which is kind of what we're doing here, because there isn't like an animation for like going into that state. It just blends. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. I'm used to doing stuff in Unity. This is like one of my first like really serious Godot projects. So I'm like learning how the animation tree in Godot works, because Unity's is really powerful, and if I can get some of that functionality in here, that will be great. So like in here I have a blend tree for it basically allows me to blend upper body animation when I pick up a pot, so I can still have like my running and walking animations. Okay, yeah, could be. But yeah, I have like my walking and running animations. It breaks when I like jump. So I do need to figure that out. Also, my second sword attack isn't working anymore for some reason. Why is that? Thought we had that working last time. How are you changing your states, Volbaka? Are you doing like state machine.traverse or travel or whatever instead of using like transitions? Because the crossfade is tied to the transition itself. I'm gonna turn off my rainbow mode. It's getting a little distracting for me. Getting overstimulated by my own rainbow. Alright, so this is attack B. And you could probably do some pretty wild stuff in this expression, now that I kind of have a better understanding of how it works. Yeah. That's fair. It works when you're doing simple stuff, but if you're doing anything complex like this, and this is not even like a fraction of how complex it's going to get. Yeah, I'm gonna show you in Unity what I'm doing. It's kind of similar. Actually, I should have opened a different project, but open this project instead. Yeah, conditions are very powerful. Yeah. Yeah, if you're only using a small number of states, you could get away with just using the player instead of the tree. Because if you're just using the player, you can just you have your list of animations, and you can just say like animation player dot play and then the name of the animation, which is what I was doing before I switched over to the animation tree. But yeah, I'm realizing that I could, depending on what script is on this animation tree, these transitions can get really advanced with the expressions. So like I wouldn't necessarily even need to make that dictionary of conditions here. I could just have the conditions be variables on this script and just check the conditions of those variables instead of having the condition be tied to the animation tree here. Alright, it's opening up my frog game. Alright, we want to look at the way it did animations in that. Tracking's being funky today. Alright, we'll keep working while we wait on that. We are gonna have ads shortly. What was I doing? I was gonna make it so we can transition in these walk and run states as well as idle. I think a goofy thing with my tracking setup is because I'm using my Kinect for tracking. It is very sunny today, and I think the sun might be interfering with the Kinect. Okay, here we go. So in Unity, hold on, let's grab our character here. Come on. No, not the UI. Okay. Frog. Alright, so there's the animator for the frog. So you can see it's pretty similar to what we have in Godot here. Let's hop in the animation tree. Maybe. So you can kind of see the similarities where we have different nodes representing different states, and we have arrows that are the transitions between the states, and then we have the conditions here. This timeline thing here is basically the same as that crossfade time that we were messing with. And you can control, if you use a curve, you can control basically like moving these start and end points around, I think. And then I also have in Unity you can have substates. I have a similar thing here where I have, this is a blend space inside of this state machine. I think I could also have, yeah, I could have a state machine inside of another state machine, which I might do just to clean up some complexity at some point. Like I can move these into a sub-state. And then we have this layers panel, which I'm not using in this project. And then we also have parameters, which are pretty much the same as the conditions, but they're so these ones with the circle, those are triggers. So they work the same as like a Boolean, but it's as soon as something checks and sees that it's true, it sets it back to false. Whereas these ones just will stay true or false depending on what you set them in code. Yeah. And then you can have multiple transitions to and from the same state. Here, I'll show you what this one looks like in action. We are about to have ads, but I'll just run this real quick. So like we have like our walking and running, then we have like crouch and crawling and jumping and ground pounding and all sorts of silly stuff. But yeah, this any state is one thing that we don't have in Godot. That would be quite handy. Because it allows us to have so we have like this knockback state here for when I take damage, and that can happen from any state, and I don't need to make a transition from every state to knockback. I can just say from, like, regardless of where we're at in the state machine, any state has a transition to knockback. So I guess the way that you would get around that in Godot would be to use the state machine travel and just specify a specific state. Ads have started. Anyway, that's some animation fun times for us. I'm gonna go back to adding our shield to our walk and run states here. Yeah, glad I can help. And in my VTuber, I'm doing some stuff where I have animation layers for my individual hands, so I can blend between a few different hand states independently of what's going on for the body. And then I also, you know, I'm layering like where I'm looking and stuff on top of like an animation that's playing, but I can also, if I move, I can override what the animation's doing with my tracking. All right. Shield pressed void. If state machine current state is self. Change state. And then we want shield state. And then in our exit state, we want this in our connect, or in our enter state, not our exit state. But we will copy this and paste it into our exit state and just change it to disconnect. Press. And we'll do the same thing in run. It's kind of annoying that we have to do the same thing multiple devices. I might at some point come up with a better way of doing that. Nice. Yeah, blend shapes are great. That's how I'm doing my face animation. At least some of it. Alright. Player input dot copy this, paste this. Oh, cool. That'll be really neat. Get your face tracking working in Godot. This and then paste it in exit. Disconnect. Yeah, parsing it. That's complex. Yeah, or maybe figure out like, you know, one or two. Don't try to do the whole face thing all at once. Just figure out like, oh, can I get my mouth to open and close or stuff like that. All right, awesome. Cool. We can block. It's awesome. And now I need to figure out if I need to do like some input buffering for so like let's say I trigger an attack and then I press the shield button. I've entered the idle state with the shield button pressed, but because I didn't press the shield button in the idle state, I don't enter the shielding state. Sword attack B not triggering. It was working fine on Tuesday. Yeah, that's cool. Sword attack B. The state is being entered. Let's see. Combat states. Sword attack B. And in here we are. Alright. Sword attack B. Oh, it's because they both have the same script on them. That's silly. Wait, did I? No, I didn't make a separate. Okay, let's. Let's see. Innovation tree. So we have attack and attack B. So we have our attack, and then this should be attack B. Alright, what if I set this to 0? Oh, what? Okay, no. Those should be fine. Huh. Then we trigger it here. That one's attack, and that one's attack B. Duration, that's the same for both of them. I'm just gonna delete that and then make it again. Alright, immediate auto, attack B. Go in here, attack B. In the script we have attack B. Attack B. And we're not getting there. Not hitting the key not found. Weird. Okay, it's working now. That was weird. Alright, that is that's something I'm gonna have to fix, I think. Shouldn't be able to attack while holding something. It's kind of funny, but like kind of busted. I need to figure out the best way to make it so if the if a damage trigger hits the player but they're shielding but only if the damage is coming from the front, if that makes any sense. So I think what we'll probably want to do is in the health script, alright, hold on, let me think this through. It's getting more complex. So, somewhere we want, and maybe this is in the damage trigger itself. So let's look at something that has a damage trigger. Okay. So, damage trigger. So I think what we want to do is we want to get the direction from the damage area to the object that has the health script on it. And then check to see if it has a shield script on it, and check to see if the shield script is active. And then if the dot product of the player's position and the damage trigger's position is the correct value, then we do not do damage, otherwise we do. Complicated. so let's see, we did get some errors there. I'm not sure. Oh, I'll just click on that. So there's a lot of ways to figure out if we are currently shielding, I think. Okay, so first thing, I could add a hitbox, but that doesn't necessarily stop the damage because that's the best way to explain it. Sorry about that. Alright, I'm gonna do some silly stuff for an example. Alright. Keeps unshielding me when I try to pause. Okay, it's like anytime it loses focus, it Alright, I'm just doing this for example. Alright, so let's say we have our bomb here. Our bomb is exploding outward. Eventually, the sphere will overlap the player. If there's a hitbox here, let's if there's a hitbox here, this hitbox doesn't actually do anything to our sphere here. But what we can do is we can let's see. Alright, so we can look at the player's position and the bomb's position. We can get a vector from one to the other. And what the dot product of those two vectors will do is it's basically like if this one's facing this one, they'll equal 1. And like the further away they're facing, like this will be 0. And if it's facing away, it'll be -1. So I think the best way to do it is like check to see if the shield is up and get the dot product so we can get the direction that the damage is coming from, and if it's if the shield would be in the path of that damage, then ignore the damage. Otherwise, apply it. I don't know if I'm explaining it super well. It's kind of a complicated thing. Alright, so before we do any of that, let's just say okay, we'll say so if it's our player, let's see. Let's say dot product of the global position and body dot global position, and we'll print the dot product. Alright, so if I put a bomb and I face away from the bomb, when it explodes, okay, that's not what I expected. Why is the dot product 1,000? That can't be right. Let's see. All right, let's look at how do dot product work. Okay, we need the direction. I see. All right, so let's see. normalize that, I think. Or no, do we not normalize that? No. And then we'll say and then dot product will be the damage direction dot player forward. Then we'll print dot. Okay, so we got something close to 1. We got something close to -1 there. So I think what we want to do here is we want to, if we're shielding and the damage dot product is under a certain amount. Alright, so alright, so we'll have ignore, which is a boolean equal to false, and we'll say if the dot product is less than or equal to, let's say, like -0.8, ignore equals true. And then here we'll say if not ignore. So this will break it. So if so if we're facing away from the bomb, we don't take. Oh, we did take damage. Interesting. We didn't take damage there because we're facing it. If we face to the side, we take damage. But if we're directly facing it, we don't take damage. And this is gonna be kind of hacky, but I don't know if this is actually gonna work. We're blocking. Okay, we did take damage there. Alright, let's see. Cool. So we can block now. We can kind of do some jank stuff with this, probably. But yeah, if we're shielding and we're facing away from the bomb, we still take damage. If we're shielding and we're facing, like, mostly the direction of the bomb, we don't take damage. Cool. That was actually easier than I thought it was gonna be. It's complicated, but it wasn't too hard. Awesome. Dot product, very useful for game dev. It's a good way to see if two things are facing each other. Yeah, I found it quickly because I've done a similar thing before in another project, and I had been thinking about it off stream. It would have taken me a lot longer if I didn't have somewhat of an idea of what I was doing. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Did Discord crash on me? What's going on? Not that it matters. Interesting. No, we probably... We want we'll want to disconnect this event regardless of whether or not we're transitioning to the idle state, I think. So one additional thing that we might do, we'll probably do it later when we're like adding more polish, but if we are shielding and something that would cause damage hits the shield, we should play a sound effect. We should play a particle, and we also have let's see, in our animation we do have a block reaction. It's not hooked up right now, but no, I want the clicky. There you go. So we can add a block reaction. Now we can go back here. We want this one to be at end. This one, advance. Block react. This will actually be fairly simple, I think. Okay. I'm just gonna close Discord because it's being really annoying. It's distracting me. So we can have a function called react or shield react. And we'll say we'll set trigger. We need to add a trigger. Here, trigger called block react. Trigger triggers block react. And then we can go into our damage trigger script. damage area. And then we can say current state. No, not change state. State dot what do we call it? Shield react. Nice. A simple little thing, but it's kind of cool. And we'll make it so enemies can block as well. But if we're facing away, we still take damage like normal. Neat. Well, I think that's a good place as any to wrap up. It's a good stopping point. Made some good progress, added shielding to our game. And it mostly does what we want it to. That was fun. Let's figure out who we can raid. Alright. Barry just started. I think we're gonna go ahead and raid Barry. He's playing Blueprints, and that game looks cool as heck. So, raiding Barry. Have a good weekend. I will be back on Tuesday with more game dev. We'll add some more cool stuff to the game. Take care. Say hi to Barry. Bye.